Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, babies and elephants. Welcome back to AutoZn YouTube channel. So today in this video, I'll be reviewing a car that is quite rare and it's also a JDM. So may I present to you a 1990 Toyota Sera. Now this Sera is actually based on a Toyota concept car, which is also called the Toyota EXV-2. Yes, AXV-2. You can look it up. It's actually produced back in 1988, before they produced this car. So that was a concept car and never got actually released to the public. And this was actually its successor. Now, the Toyota Sera is actually only made from 1990 to 1995. And throughout the 5 years, there are only 15,000 plus units ever produced and sold only in Japan and never sold in other countries. And that is what I call a JDM, which is also called as a Japanese domestic market, which is never sold outside of Japan. Now there are actually a few fun facts for this Toyota Sera. The first one being its headlights. Now these are not normal halogen or reflector headlights, right? These are actually projector headlights. Yes, you did not hear me wrong, a projector headlights. And this becomes the first car that ever comes with a projector headlights. Now the second fun fact for this Toyota Sera, which is also actually the main attraction, is its door, right? These doors are actually called or known as butterfly doors. And if most people out there will know that all of the McLaren models actually comes with this door. And the designer of the Mclaren F1, which is Gordon Murray, actually got inspired by this Toyota Sera because his neighbor owns a Toyota Sera. And then he basically took this design and designed it on the Mclaren F1. Right, there are actually a few types of these kind of doors on the market right now. For example, you can see a scissor door, a falcon wing door, a butterfly door, and lastly, a gull wing door. Right, for the scissor door, you can see on a Lamborghini Aventador, or most of the Lamborghini models. There are most of them, not all, okay? And the next one is the falcon wing door. Falcon wing door, you can actually be seen on a Tesla Model X, the passenger side. And then the next one is the gull wing doors. The gull wing doors open something like, or actually exactly like a falcon wing door. That door was actually be seen on a Mercedes SL, the very old one, and it's actually a legendary car as well. And then the last one, which is the butterfly door on the McLaren Senna, McLaren Speedtails, or all the McLaren models, and of course the Toyota Sera. Now the next main attraction for this door, or actually part of the door, is its roof. Yes, this roof is actually part of the door where it is also a glass roof, or most people call it a moon roof nowadays. There is actually a cover here where you can cover it back if you don't want to experience a hot sauna in your Toyota Sera on a very sunny afternoon. Of course, you can take off the cover and basically enjoy the beautiful skies early in the morning, or also late at night. You can bring your kids around or your girlfriend around and you can basically see the stars on the sky. Now moving on to the performance part for this car is its engine, which is the heart of the car. Right, this car is actually fitted with a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. The code name for this engine is called 5E-FHE. So there is also a lot of people out there who drive the Toyota Sera actually swap a 4E FTE engine, which is from a Toyota Starlet GT, into this car. But since the 5E is the top spec or the highest spec of the E engine series, so I decided to keep it stock as is and not to swap the 4E engine, which can be seen on the Toyota Starlet GT. Now this car is actually paired with a 4-speed transmission, automatic transmission, and of course there is also another model which paired with a 5-speed manual transmission, which I think is a much more driver engagement car if you're driving a 5-speed manual, but this is 4-speed. Even though it's a 4-speed, but it's also very fun to drive. Now there is also a small modifications that I've done to this engine is the grounding wire, which I don't think it's part of modification, but for old cars, the grounding wire is actually very helpful because it is to stabilize the battery voltage even when the car is idling or when you're driving the car. Now moving on to exterior modifications that I have done to this car so far. If you can see, the color for this Toyota Sera is actually called a Ferrari red. Right, well before we repainted this paint, it is actually also red color, but it's in a more darker, more dull color. So we want it to be more striking. Hence, we repainted it into a Ferrari red. Now moving on to the modifications, this body kit, if you can see, it is actually from a first generation Toyota Vios. Most of the first generation Toyota Vios owner might recognize this kit because this kit is actually a TRD kit for the first generation Toyota Vios, right? And then we basically custom it and make it fitted on this car. Moving on is the fog lights here. So these fog lights are actually very famous back in 1990s, I mean the 90s era. If you can already know, these exact fog lights are also used on Toyota A86, the legendary tofu car, and we actually get it fitted on this car as well. Now moving on is its rims and wheels and also sport springs, right? So starting off with the rims, these are actually Volks Racing CE28 replicas, of course, and fitted with Altenzo. This is called the Sports Comforter Plus 60 inches tire. I have no idea why its name is so long, but that's the name for this tire. This tire is actually made in Australia, and let me tell you this tire is actually very grippy. I've tried it on togeys and stuff. It's actually very grippy, and make this car control or handling for this car is actually perfect with this tire. So moving on to the sport spring for this car, these sport springs are actually from Toyota Starlet GT, and then we fitted them on this car. Even before we fitted the sport springs on this car is actually very low on center of gravity and it drives really fun. And after fitted these sport springs, this car is even more like a go-kart with doors and also glass roof. So if you want to drive a go-kart on the road, you can buy the Toyota Sera, which I don't think a lot are for sale right now because they are pretty rare. So yeah, if you see one, snatch it up. So moving on to the exhaust, these are actually Max Racing exhausts from after the header all the way to the back to the muffler. So these exhausts are actually quite raspy, the sound, because if you are driving a sports car or coupe, why wouldn't you change the exhaust to make it more fun to drive or make it a music to our ears, right? So take a listen to the exhaust sound. Now moving on to the interior modifications that I have done to this car is, right off the bat you can see the center console, including the gear knob, the steering wheel, the meter cover as well as the door panel. These are actually wrapped in real carbon fiber. I mean, there are also a lot of shops out there, they hydrographic this. Basically they dip the whole middle console or center console into a liquid and then it will basically have a pattern of carbon fiber, but these are actually wrapped in the real carbon fiber. Now moving on to the next modifications that I have done to this car is actually the speakers. Right off the bat you can see in front there are actually a tweeter on the left, the middle is a speaker, and right also another tweeter, and also there's two more speakers on the door panel left and right. These are actually original from Toyota, which they call it as a SLSS Super Live Sound System. They're actually original, but unfortunately this car does not come with the rear speakers, so we fitted them with custom Carrozzeria speakers at the back. Now the next modification that I have done for this car for the interior is a re-wrap for the A pillar, B pillar as well, the roof lining. They are all wrapped in suede Alcantara. So including this sunshade, this is actually one of the most special sunshades I've seen so far. So basically, if you're wondering where's the sunshade, you can actually pull it out from the middle and you can do it like this. It's small, but it's special. Moving on to the roof for this car, there's actually this cover here when I have talked about it earlier, where you can cover this on the rooftop. So let me close the door right now. So you can just cover it like this, and then you clip it at the back.
2,000 years later.
And it will stay there, and then same goes to the other door. When it's a hot sunny day, you can put this on and you won't feel like a sauna, hot sauna in your Toyota Sera. Now the next two most important or most special modifications that I've done to this car is the left screen right there and the right screen right here. So these screens are actually inspired by the McLaren Speedtail. I mean, because the car doesn't have a side mirror anymore, so they use new technology, which is implement a camera at the side there, left and right, and use this screen as a side mirror. So I've also actually copied McLaren Speedtail's idea and actually implemented to this car. So we have a camera at the left side mirror, right side mirror, in front of the car, and also behind of the car. So it acts like a 360 camera, but this camera at the side here, two side here, is actually very special because it actually solves your blind spot issue, as it is 170 degrees angle, so you can see all the way to the left here and also the back here, which technically acts as a better or more upgraded side mirror you can have right now. Now, in addition to the two screens right there, I actually installed this beep or alert right here, where if a car or an object is very near to your left or right, this will actually alert you accordingly. So right now my brother is standing on the left side of the car, so here it says all the way to the red, where it warns you there is an object very near you on the left. So same goes to on the right, it will also alert you. Now moving on, I'll be talking about the push start button. Yes, this car have a push start button system where I also sell them, as well as the 360 camera right there, the blind spot monitoring system, and also the two screens right here. You can check out the product link down in the description down below. So this push start system is very special, where it actually comes with this LCD screen key right here. So if you are familiar to this key, this is actually from a BMW 7 Series, and then we actually modified it and custom it into this car, which comes with one set, basically with the push start system together. Now in the next video, I'll be explaining or reviewing the push start button system on this car and also other accessories that is coming along on the way. Now the last modification that I've done to this car is this steering. Right? This is actually an RD steering. Right off the bat, you can see this steering is not original or normal. I mean, you don't see these two pedals and these two switches here on a steering like this, right? So I actually custom this pedal shifter here and also this button here. So what does this stuff does? So for the pedal shifter, it actually works. So we click it once, on the screen here it will show OD off. So since this car is equipped with a 4-speed automatic transmission, it's actually an OD off button here. So once you activated this switch or this pedal here, it actually locked to 3rd gear and it will never go to the 4th gear, which is very helpful when you want to overtake cars or driving into toll gate. You can lock the gears back then. So moving on, there's this button down here, actually act as a horn. So since this steering doesn't have a horn in the middle, as you can see, it doesn't have a horn, so we actually modified and custom this switch here for horn. So let me just click it once. Yeah, so that's the horn for this car. So that is all for the interior modification for this car, and please stay tuned for the next video to come, because it will be a more exciting and a more special video, because you have never seen a 1990 car with a push start system, an LED remote car key, and with a remote start function. Alright, so this is it for today's video. In the next video, which is the part 2 of this video, we'll be reviewing my push start system and also remote start system on this car. It will be a very special and also interesting video, so please stay tuned for that. So if you want to watch more videos, please do remember to like the video if you like the content that I make, and also subscribe to the channel if you love the content that I make. So until then guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!
the other.